I thank you for that song reminding us that we need you every moment of every day. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. If you got a Bible, I ask you to turn to Matthew chapter 19. Now, if you are a guest here for the first time today, I'm going to just warn you right up front. This sermon, this message is really not for you today. This message is really geared to those of us that are part of First Baptist Sanger. You will hopefully get something out of this. There'll be something that you can take from today if you're not a part of here, and a lesson that you can take and take back to wherever you live, wherever you serve. But today this is about us. This is a challenge to us. We've been able to talk in the last 2 weeks. We're finishing up this Sunday a series on some demographics of our community, looking at the city of Sanger, looking at who lives here, and understanding the call that we have as Christians to reach those of this community. We've been looking at the demographics of the entire Sanger School District boundaries. And we've been talking about them, and I will tell you, as I go back through those and look back over them, the one that just keeps jumping out at me is how large a number of people live here that are part of families with children between the ages of 6 to 17. 52% of the people living within the Sanger School District boundaries, 52% are the age of 35 and under, or actually under the age of 35. Think about that. Out of all of the 52% are in that grouping. And the vast majority of those in that grouping, the adults in that grouping, the vast majority of them have children that are school age. Then I take that number and I combine it with some numbers from the National Association of Evangelicals. And it says to me that we have here in the city of Sanger, we have an incredible opportunity. Because the National Association of Evangelicals, you go to that next slide, it says this, that 63% of Christians become followers of Jesus between the ages of 4 and 14 years old. 63%. The median age of conversion is 11 years old. That is like 5th or 6th grade. 50% of all people who become followers of Jesus Christ do so before they ever reach Ryan's ministry in the youth. 50%. Another 13% in the first couple of years that we have handed them off to Ryan and the student ministry here and said, Ryan, go get them. 63% of all the people who become followers of Jesus do so before they get to high school. By the time they get out of high school, that number has kind of reached a little bit more. The vast majority of people who become followers of Jesus do so long before they ever get out of high school. Which we look at that and we begin to wonder about that demographic, and some would say, oh, surely it's not that true, right? Well, I fall squarely in that 50%. I was 7 years old, and I'm just going to ask, how many of you, just to raise your hand, if you are a follower of Jesus, how many of you became a Christian before or by the age of 11? How many of you became a Christian by the age of 11? That's quite a few. Okay, now raise that up to 14. How many of you became a Christian by the age of 14? Those of you that had under 11, you have to raise your hand too. Okay. Reality is, most of us did. Most of us fall into this demographic. But here at First Baptist, we put a tremendous amount of resources into our student ministry, our youth ministry. Our youth ministry picks up at about the age of 11. And you might look at those numbers and you might say, Grant, we're investing in the wrong area. If we're investing so heavily at a time where from 11 to 17 to 18, and I would say to you, no, we're not investing in the wrong area. We're investing in the right area, but we're just not investing down far enough. We should invest heavily in the student ministry. The ministry that focuses from 6th grade through 12th grade. We should invest heavily, and we do. And you know what? We should be happy that we do. We should be proud of the fact that we invest so heavily in our student ministry. And if you don't see the benefit of that, I want to tell you, you ought to come on Wednesday night and see the 100 to 150 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that fill these pews every Wednesday night. Then come back on Sunday evening. On Wednesdays, it's in middle school. Come back on Sunday evenings and see the 60 to 70 high schoolers that come in here and worship together on Sunday evenings. You know, we are talking over 200 people, teenagers, in our community that we're reaching with the gospel. So many of those do not come to any other church. That is their church. Their parents do not get them to church. Folks, we need to be investing there. But we also need to invest in the group right under them. We need to invest as a church in our children's ministry. It is amazing what Ryan does when we hand him maybe 5 6th graders every year. But can you imagine what our student ministry would do if instead of handing them 5 6th graders, we handed Ryan 20 6th graders? Imagine the impact that student ministry would have on the city of Spartanburg School District if we did our job at the younger ages. I'm going to tell you, we have some great workers in our children's ministry. We have some people that are dedicated, some people that work hard, and they love what they do, and we have reason to be proud of the people that are working in there. But we need 2 things in our children's ministry. We need a leader. We need somebody that can devote significant amounts of time, way more than any of our lay volunteers can give. We need somebody that can be the leader there. Somebody that can drive that ministry in many ways like what Ryan drives our student ministry. And secondly, we need to give them resources. We need to give them resources in the vicinity of what Ryan has with our student ministry. We need to invest. And why should we do that? Well, 50% of people become followers of Jesus by the age of 11. You know, really, if you need any more than that, then I got to say, you need to check your heart. But listen to this, Matthew chapter 19. Let me read verse 13. Then people brought little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." When he had placed his hands on them, he went on from there. Jesus cares for the children. We know the song, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Well, this verse, it is interesting. This verse is found, I believe, in all 4 of the other Gospels, a story just like this. In every one of the Gospels, it has Jesus blessing the children. There are so many really cool stories that you only find in 1 or 2 of the Gospels. Why do you find this one in seemingly all of the Gospels? Why is this one, this verse that Jesus blesses the little children, why is it there? Well, I'm going to tell you, I think it's there because God understood that children are the ones that we need to focus on. Folks, Jesus loved the children. The disciples believed that Jesus was too busy to spend time on kids, but Jesus set them straight. The disciples told the parents, listen, Jesus is way too busy. He has got way more important things to do than to deal with your little babies than your children. He's got more important things to do. He's got to go see the important people. And Jesus said, stop. Do not hinder. Let the little ones come to me. Jesus said, I'm not too busy to focus and to serve and to minister to the youngest. Well, if we believe that Jesus loves the little children, and we recognize how significant a portion of the population in Sanger they represent, wouldn't we choose to allocate more time and more resources to leadership in this area? I want to tell you, we need to do better. Until I began to see these statistics and see how large the population of children are in our area, I was very comfortable with waiting until we had paid off all of our debt to make any moves in the area of children's ministry. We still owe somewhere about $65,000 on the remodel of this building. We owe about $300 and something thousand on the family on the gym. And we paid off the building the house across the street. Got that paid off right after I got here. We have been knocking down the debt on this one because we just rolled the money into this. And you know what our plan had been? To just roll that money on into the next debt and to get it paid off. And I was okay with standing back and saying, yeah, okay, let's just continue that pattern. And you know, it'll take us maybe 2 years and we'll get that paid off. But folks, I look and I see how many children there are in our community. And I see the needs that we have in our community. And I see the reality that we as a church are not doing all we can to reach the youngest in this community. And my heart breaks. And I begin to wonder if we don't need to take a step out on some faith, and to do what is most important, not what we want. Are we willing to focus on our desires more than the needs of a majority of our ministry area? And there's another reason that this breaks my heart. Because children are receptive. Children are simply more receptive to the gospel than probably any other age group. They have an innocence that has not been stripped away. Evangelism efforts that are targeted at adults are important. And we need to continue to find ways to reach adults. That is important. But the simple reality is they are far less effective than evangelism efforts targeted towards children and young families. Jesus said that in this passage that we all must become like children to inherit the kingdom of God. There's a reason he said that. And I think he said it because he understood that children are simply more receptive to the gospel. They will listen to it better. They will respond to it more effectively and more openly than probably any other age group. And if that is the case, then shouldn't we more effectively target them at a time that they're more receptive? And there's one last area. Parents want help leading their children. Not just to God, but they just want help leading their children. Remember think back to when you had your first child. I will never forget. We had just had Mackenzie, and we were at a family deal. It was my dad's side of the family. And one of my aunts comes up to me. And she and a friend of hers, they come up to me, and they look at me, and they look at me holding Mackenzie. And they said the most terrifying words to me. They said, "Grant, isn't it amazing that Mackenzie is basically just a blank slate? And everything that she is going to know about God, everything that she is going to know about good, everything that she's going to know about how to live in this world, how to make her way in this world, she's going to learn from you." I remember thinking, is it too late to say she's not mine? But folks, that's terrifying. I mean, to think that you are handed, you have to do more study and preparation to get a driver's license than you do to raise a child. It's terrifying. And as a new parent, you're holding that little one thinking, I don't even know how to change a diaper. How in the world am I going to teach this child all that he or she needs to know? And so parents are looking for help. And as we talked about, so many people are moving into this community. They're not like me that has mom and dad right there. More and more people that live in our community don't have mom and dad 5 minutes away. You know, Denise and I lived for almost all of our married life, all the time that we had children. We lived 300 miles from the closest parents. If we needed help, mom and dad couldn't be there in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If we had a question and we needed an answer, we had to have somebody else. The people in our community are right there, folks. We need to build up our ministry, not just to the children, but we need to build up our ministry to the young parents, to give them some more resources. The parents in Jesus' day, they wanted him to bless their children. That blessing was important. But parents still seek the blessing of God's people. They seek help in training their children to live right. They need us. They need us to love them and to care for them. They need us to be standing there beside them. They need those of you that have raised your children and guys that know how to change a diaper. They need you. They need somebody willing to stand beside them. They need somebody that when their son or daughter is standing on a football field or a basketball court or a baseball diamond or sitting in a band concert, they want to be able to look up into that crowd and know not just that mom and dad are there, because mom and dad's probably going to be there, but they need to be able to look up in that crowd and see somebody else and go, there's people that care about me. But they need you to be there and to love them, to care for them. So when I ask you a question, it's on your connection card. Are you willing to invest in our children over our own companies? Are we willing to ask and to call for not what we want, but what the people of our community need? Are we willing to help in children's ministry? Are we willing to put reaching families over my personal desires? My prayer is that you are. My prayer is that as a church, that we will say, let's find out what can we do to make reaching families and reaching the young children of this community a major priority of this church, over and above anything that I might want. Are we willing to do that? There is an opportunity tonight to put a face and to put some time into that statement saying, I'm willing to put reaching young families and reaching children above my own companies. It's called Fall Festival. About 5 o'clock, I think it's 5 o'clock today, there are going to be probably, if last year is an indication, there are going to be probably 500 people or 600. Let's just go big. Let's say there's going to be 600 people, 650 people that are going to storm our gates. And trust me, you will feel like they are storming our gates. They're going to come in a swarm. And every single one of those little ones are going to have a bag. And they're going to be wanting to play games. And they're going to want to go by every car that's parked in the parking lot and get some candy. We need you tonight. If you have not already volunteered to be here tonight and to start to serve, be here tonight. It is an opportunity. Yes, it is chaos. It is crazy. Just go ahead and take some Advil before you come. If you're a parent, you might want to take a couple of extra Advil. Yes, it is insane. But be here. And be a part of reaching the young people in our city. because history tells us they're going to be here tonight. This fall festival started, I'm not sure how long ago, but I talked to some people and they said, you know, when we started the fall festival, we had probably less than 100 people total. But every year it kind of built a little bit, and it built a little more, and it built a little more, and last year we had over 500 people. Who knows how many we're going to have today? It has done a fantastic job of introducing our church to young families in our community. But we also have an opportunity coming up in a couple of months, and that is the Streets of Bethlehem. Streets of Bethlehem is, in some ways, it's kind of like the Fall Festival. In a lot of ways, it is targeting families with children. Now, it is something that all adults will be able to enjoy. All ages are going to be able to experience the Streets of Bethlehem, and they will enjoy it. I think they're going to come away and have a great experience with it. But why I'm so excited about Streets of Bethlehem is that it is going to be right out here in front of our church. We're going to have it set up beforehand. People are going to drive by. They're going to see all of this stuff out in our yard and wonder what in the world is going on. And they will be able to come in. You can come in with your kids. You can walk through it. And if you wanted, you can go through the whole thing in like 10 minutes and be done. Or you can wander around and all the little booths are going to have stuff for the kids to be able to do and the adults all the way through. But it is going to be an opportunity for families to come in here at a time of the year when they're looking for something to do with their family. Just like the Fall Festival. People want something to be able to do with my family and my kids at Halloween time. That's why Fall Festival has been so huge for us. The Streets of Bethlehem is the same thing. They're going to have an opportunity to come in to experience and to enjoy with their family. And if you have not been a part of Streets of Bethlehem and the building part, if you haven't volunteered to act in it, I want to encourage you to talk to Sonny Yates. Let her know that you want to be a part of that. It is going to be an incredible opportunity for us to reach our community. The question we go back to is this one. Are you willing to invest in our comforts, our desires, or are you willing to invest in reaching the people of Sanger? Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for the opportunity to worship you today. Father, I pray that as a church, that we would not just say that we want to reach our community, but Father, that we would put our hearts, our lives, our time, and our dollars on reaching the people of Sanger. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Let's stand together. This is one of those sermons again that the invitation, the message is probably kind of different than the invitation. You know, it may be today that you recognize that this is the kind of church you want to be a part of, one that wants to strive to reach the people of our community. I will tell you, we're not perfect there. We got a lot of growth to happen, but we want to invite you to come and be a part of us. Let's sing together.
You stood before creation, eternity in your hand. You spoke the earth into motion, my soul now to stand. You stood before carried the cross for my shame. My sin weighed upon your shoulders, my soul now to stand. So what can I say? led to you. So I walk upon salvation, your Spirit alive in me. My heart will declare your promise, my soul now to stand. So what can I say? What can I do? Offer this heart of God, completely to you.
Amen. I'll ask you to be seated. Before our ushers, y'all can hold on just a minute. I'm going to ask Chris Nebro. Where is Chris? Oh, there you go. Okay, he's right here. I'm going to ask Chris Legal to come. Chris is with the Baptist General Convention of Texas, and he is here going to give us an overview, very, very brief, I promise you, very brief overview of what the Baptist General Convention of Texas does, and to recognize the giving that we do towards the Baptist General Convention of Texas through the cooperative program. Chris?
Thanks, Grant. Thanks for letting me be here today. I realize the Cowboy game doesn't come on till 3. We will be out by then for sure, okay? So if you'll be just patient with me. First of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank your church for its generous support of the cooperative program. The cooperative program began about 90 years ago. Baptists got together and said, there's some big things that we need to do in this world, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is to cooperate together. So your church is one of 5,300 churches here in Texas that participate in cooperative giving. And through that, there's some amazing things that we've done. I don't have time in 5 minutes to even touch the hem of the garment to tell you all the great things that are going on in just Texas because of the cooperative program. There's a little booklet that's out on the missions table, out by the missions wall where the boxes are, where the shoes boxes are. And there are a few of these that give a little bit more detail of what I'm speaking about today. But let me just share with you a few quick things about the cooperative program. Texas is a big state. Now, you needed to come to church today to learn that, didn't you? But it really is a huge state. If we were to flip Texas that direction, you know where El Paso would land? Right about Charleston, South Carolina. It's a big state, isn't it? And if we flipped it the other way, Marshall and all those cities along the eastern border of Texas, they would be clearly out in the northern Pacific Ocean, just off of San Diego and Los Angeles. Well, if we flipped it the other direction, you know where Brownsville would be? About 140 miles south of the Canadian border. Have you ever driven from Perryton, Texas to Brownsville, Texas? I didn't think you did. I don't know why you'd ever want to. That is a long drive. I've driven many times from Dallas to Brownsville, but I can't imagine starting in Perryton, Texas. It is a long way. Well, if you were to flip it on Brownsville, Perryton and Amarillo, those cities would have crossed 3 countries and would be right on the parallel line with Guatemala. This is a big state, about 26 million people, but not only is it a big state, it's a lost state. Texas is lost. We estimate there are about 12 million lost people in Texas. That is a very conservative figure. 12 million is figured by a demographer that works with us, based on church membership, and about statistics show that about half the Texans are a member of any church. So we know not everybody that's a member of our churches is saved. So that's a very conservative figure. There are probably more than 12,000. You know how many 12,000 is? 12,000 is greater than the population of 44 of the 50 states in our country. 12 million, excuse me. 12 million is more than the population of 154 of 220 countries in the world. Many of those where we send missionaries, and we should. But we realize some of the countries where we send missionaries, we have more lost people in our state than they have people in their countries. And if the lost population were a country all to itself, it would be the 75th largest country in the world. The point is, we have a mission field here in Texas. We have people to reach. And you know how we're going to reach them? Now, right now is when you probably expect that denominational guy to make a plea for more money. No. If we reach this state, it's going to be through churches. Churches just like you. You know, there's a lighthouse in this picture. I live in Garland, Texas. South Garland Baptist Church is just a little bit that direction, and Eastern Hills Baptist Church is a little bit that direction, and First Baptist Church, Rowlett is a little bit that direction. If every one of those churches had a lighthouse like that, its light would cast a light over my roof. Okay? There are 5,300 churches here in Texas, our churches, Baptist churches. That doesn't count the other evangelicals that preach a Bible that's true, that preach conservative salvation by grace. We could do this. We could do this. Do you know how many McDonald's there are in Texas? I looked it up. That's why I know I'm not real smart. There are 1,410, I believe. Now, you'd think there'd be more than that, because just about everywhere you look, there's a McDonald's, and you turn around and there's another one a stone throw away. We have just 5,300 churches in our group of churches. This is something we can do to reach this state. Well, then why do we have a Baptist convention? Well, there's some things that your church wants to do other than the things that you're doing here. Let me say, I wanted to start out by saying this, Pastor. I spoke at a church this week, and a lady got up to introduce me. They were having their fall festival, and she gave a testimony that 5 years ago, her husband, a co-worker, had invited their family to the fall festival. They were not Christians. They were lost. That was their introduction into our church.